Hey guys, and welcome back to another edition of NASCAR DFS Preview. I'm your host Austin from the Sports Chief, and we've been doing these videos all year long, and the season unfortunately is winding down. We have two races left in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series with ISM Raceway this week with the Bluegreen Vacations 500. Next week, of course, we're going to Homestead for the championship weekend. But we're going to ISM Raceway this week, so it's a mile short track, I guess you can say. Got a dog leg. It's about a mile, a little over a mile. Pretty high speed track. Wouldn't call it a short track. It kind of drives like one. It's pretty flat, relatively flat. One of my favorite tracks actually on the schedule. It typically produces good racing. Typically they sell out these events. Of course, it holds about 42,000 people, I believe. They also have the hill that you can watch the race at. Definitely a track I'd love to go to at some point. Anyway, as far as the DFS perspective goes, I feel like I performed decent here. It is a track position, it is a race that track position is very key. So you always want to pick guys that are starting up towards the front typically. But also drivers that have a lot of patience or are going into the weekend with a lot of patience. You tend to get a lot of long green flag runs here, so long run speed is very key as well. So looking at past history at this track is very important. Looking at practice speeds, of course, are always very important. That's what we look for. So yeah, we can go ahead and just start attacking the race here. So see what we're rolling out here, and hopefully I can help you in making your lineup. So looking at this here, you've got Kyle Busch. That's what DraftKings has given us. DraftKings did pretty well as far as the salaries go. It made it pretty difficult. But Kyle Busch starting on the pole at 11.9. He's the most expensive driver by a pretty good bit. Over $400 over Kevin Harvick starting in 7th. Kevin Harvick is the king of this track. He's won here 9 times, and he has the best average finish among active drivers with like a 9.3 or so. So look for him to contend. He always performs well here at ISM Raceway. Martin Truex Jr. starting in 4th at 11.2. We got 3 guys over 11K. Denny Hamlin starting in 3rd at 10.6, and Chase Elliott starting in 6th at 10.2. So we have 5 drivers, 10K and up, and then you go lower with Joey Logano starting in 2nd at 9.9, Kyle Larson in 5th at 9.6, and Ryan Blaney starting in 10th at 9.4. So DraftKings made sure to get all of the playoff drivers, that's all 8. So the top 8 priced, if that's correct, the top 8 priced guys are in the playoffs, so they're going to be competing for that championship weekend. Truex and Kevin Harvick are already locked in. So this race, it does matter to them, but it's not a make or break for them. They're locked in. It is a make or break, however, for Kyle. Right now, Kyle Busch is in and Logano are in. Denny Hamlin is not. Denny Hamlin has not had a good couple runs here lately, so this is like a must-win for him. Chase Elliott is a must-win for sure. It's not a must-win for Logano, but a win would definitely lock him in. Larson and Blaney as well, it would be a must-win. Practically. A lot of bad things would have to happen to Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. So, yeah, so that's what we're going with here. Kyle Busch is on the pole. Kyle Busch is arguably the best driver in NASCAR statistically. And Kyle Busch also is pretty good here at this track. He's got 3 wins. He's actually got 20 top 10s and 28 starts, which is pretty good. He was the fastest car in first practice. He's also got an average finish in his career as 11th, so 11.1. And I'm going with Kyle Busch. I'm not even going to think twice about this. The fact he's on the pole, track position means a lot. Kyle could lead 100 laps. We have 312 laps to deal with here, which is quite a bit. And I could see Kyle leading at least 100, for sure. I think Kyle will run really well here. So we're going with Kyle Busch at 11.9. I do think he'll be a little chalky because people like to go the pole guy. And, hey, he's racing for the playoffs, and I really like his position there. So we're going with Kyle Busch. Let's just hold on for a little bit with going the top price guys and see what DraftKings has offered us as far as the bargains down here. And really, to be honest with you, I think John Hunter and up is the guys that you should be considering. Any lower than that, Joe Nemechek, J.J. Yaley. J.J. Yaley is actually intriguing. Starting in 39th, he could honestly get 30th, and that would give you 9 spots plus the 30th place finish, which that's doable. Definitely a tournament strategy. I feel like I'm implementing a tournament strategy this week too. But I'm not going to go that way. So I'm going to kind of do John Hunter and up. One driver that I really love this weekend is Daniel Hemrick. He's starting in 27th spot, and he's at 6-1, pretty cheap. I think Daniel Hemrick could get a top 25 for sure. A top 20 would be great. He's got a fast enough car to where I feel like he could get, a decent finish out of this race. So, you're looking at drivers like Ryan Preece, Stenhouse, and Dillon. Dillon's starting in 28th, but he's at 6-8. I do think a lot of people will be going Austin Dillon's way. So I'm kind of going to stay away from that from a tournament strategy perspective. I think Daniel Hemrick will be somewhere in like the 15 to 20% owned range, which is I really like that number. So I'm going to go Daniel Hemrick there, and that gives us $8,000 to spend on the top end. So I am going to go back up to the top. Actually, one driver that I kind of want to talk about here is Matt DiBenedetto. He's starting in 16th. DiBenedetto had really fast speeds in the happy hour practice. I believe he was the fastest car in 5-lap runs, and he was up there at the 10 and so on and so forth as far as the practice speeds go. He's starting in 16th. If DiBenedetto was starting at 20th and up, I would have pulled the trigger on him and wouldn't have thought twice. But he is starting in 16th. I could see him finishing 16th, and that just wouldn't be a great value. So scrolling up towards the top here, one guy that I actually had picked to win the championship once the playoffs started is Denny Hamlin, and I think Denny Hamlin is going to come out with a great finish. Yes, I do think Kyle Busch will win. Kyle Busch is my pick to win the race, but I do think Denny Hamlin could contend. I could see Denny Hamlin getting second. I could see Denny Hamlin winning the race. Denny Hamlin could also have a bad race, but I feel like they're going to be on their A game, and Denny getting a top 5 is, in my mind, pretty automatic if you can have that. Nothing is automatic, of course, but I do feel like Denny is going to have a great weekend, and he was very quick in practice. He was the fastest car on 20-lap runs in happy hour. He's got a good piece, and I really like him, and I wanted to make sure I could get as many playoff guys in my lineup as possible, which means if I'm looking at these other guys, man, Joey Logano starting in second is very attractive, and Joey has to, perform really well. Chase Elliott has to win the race. I don't think that 9 team is quite there as far as championship caliber goes just yet, and that's why I'm staying away. So I do think Denny Hamlin's team is championship caliber. I do think Kyle Busch's team is championship caliber, and I want to pick Larson so bad there, starting in 5th, but Ryan Blaney starting in 10th is just way too good to pass up. Ryan Blaney could very easily get a top 5. Ryan Blaney was the fastest car in 25 and 30-lap runs. He had a top-end speed. He was like top 10 in both practices. I really like Ryan Blaney, and he's the cheaper option in Penske. Brad Keselowski is too, but Brad was not as fast as Blaney. This track just fits Ryan Blaney. Kind of cool, calm. I think he will save his stuff, and I think he will get at least a top 5. I don't know if he'll win the race. He very well could, but I like Ryan Blaney to have a good weekend for sure. So I'm going Ryan Blaney, and that gives us $6,000 to spend. And here's one interesting thing I want to talk about down here towards the bottom. So I'm going to take out the older Nemechek. David Reagan starting in 30th. I feel like David Reagan, among all the sharp guys that play DraftKings, all the top-notch guys that play DraftKings, they like to pick David Reagan a lot. And I do think David Reagan will be heavily owned. So I'm going to go away from that route, and I'm actually going to pick his teammate, John Hunter Nemechek. He's starting in 26th. He actually had a good showing in the Xfinity race. He had a bad showing in the truck race. But John Hunter starting in 26th, I could very well see him finishing there. And I feel like I have a good enough cushion picking Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Blaney. And I think Daniel Hemrick's my guy who can pass cars. John Hunter starting right there with him, and I think he's going to be racing conservatively anyway, and I could see him finishing right where he starts. And I'm going to go that route. I could also see David Reagan, finishing top 25. But David Reagan's a little more expensive, and that allows me to get a driver that I really want this weekend is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I know that's pretty crazy to say, but I do think Ricky will actually have a good weekend. I think Ricky can get a top 20. He was okay in practice, but I do like Ricky better than Preece or Dillon, which you would have to go that route if you went David Reagan. So I can just kind of show you here. If you pick David Reagan, you're going to go Preece or Dillon. And to me, I like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. this weekend, driving the NOS energy drink number 17 Ford. So he's ending his career at Roush. Next week is his last race. And I think he'll end on a pretty good note. So I've got guys starting 24th, 26th, 27th. Then I got 1st, 3rd, and 10th. I feel pretty good about this. So that is our lineup. So let me clean it up here. The Sports Chief is going to show you here. Kyle Busch will be our first driver. Denny Hamlin. So going Joe Gibbs Racing, top to top there. Going to go Penske there with Ryan Blaney. Trying to get as many playoff drivers as I possibly could. And those three I could pull out there. And scrolling on down here, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daniel Hemrick, and John Hunter Nemechek will be our lineup. So there you have it. That's what we're rolling out here at ISM Raceway. Hopefully this helped you a little bit. There's a lot of different strategies out there. I feel like the guys starting up front will be up front for most of the race. I do think you're okay going with like Joey Logano over Denny Hamlin. That does give you a little bit more salary flexibility. But I actually like Ricky Stenhouse, John Hunter, and Daniel Hemrick going into this weekend. So that's our lineup for the Bluegreen Vacations 500. Actually, next year, ISM Raceway will be the championship weekend race. So that's going to be interesting. Homestead is very fun too. So I'm a little torn on it. But yeah, so that's what's going to happen in 2020. Just to give you a heads up there. So follow us on Twitter at the Sports Chief. Subscribe to our channel here. Like, comment. If you have any questions, comments, or concern, we also have our website www.thesportschief.com. We're trying to put out a little bit more movie reviews, things like that, especially with the Christmas season and holiday season coming up. So we'll be doing that, and also NASCAR. The video series will be into next week, so hopefully we can kick it in next year. But yeah, so that's what we're doing here as Sports Chief, and come check us out, and hope you enjoy it and have a good race weekend.